Welcome to the Podium Life Podcast, where we discuss how to live a podium life. I am your host and favorite Olympian, Michelle Carter, a.k.a. Shot Diva. Let's get into this episode. Welcome back to the Podium Life Podcast. As you can see, I am not by myself. I have a very special guest, my actual first guest to my podcast. I mean, if anybody can guess who he might be, like, you might take a good guess and you might can figure out who he is. But for those who don't know, this is my dad, Michael Carter, a.k.a. Coach Daddy is what I call him. And he is joining me for my first interview for the podcast. So you know, here at the Podium Life, we live life a step above the rest. We do things that's going to set us apart to be our very best in life. And so all those things that I talk about and a lot of those things that I've learned, I learned from this man right here. Because not only is he my dad, he was also my coach. And we're going to just go ahead and list some of the accomplishments and things my dad has accomplished. So, Michael Carter, he was born in Dallas, Texas, a.k.a. Oak Cliff. That's his hood, not mine. But he's the oldest of four kids. Yeah, four. And Mama had five. That's right. Oh, four. And he is athlete, father, coach, and a.k.a. Android is what he call himself, with all the metal in his body. But he was the fifth round draft pick. Thank you. I always messed that up. 3-time Pro Bowl, 4-time All-Pro, 3-time first team, 3 Super Bowl rings, 84, 90, 89, and 92. He has 22.5 sacks within his career. He has 1 interception and 1 touchdown, which AKA is my shirt. 4-time indoor champion, NCAA, 3-time NCAA outdoor champion, 1983 NCAA team championship, national high school record holder, Olympic silver medalist, husband to my mom, Sandra Carter, his high school sweetheart, father of 3 kids, and the grandfather of 2 granddogs, Ryder and Diva. So, of course, he has had a lot of great accomplishments. But the one that I know the most is that he is my dad. So, Dad, welcome to my podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. But let me correct you on one thing.
Okay.
Super Bowl champion was 84, 88, and 89.
Not
92. Yes.
That was my fault. I should have double checked myself. But thank you for correcting me. Okay, 84, 88, and 89.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So, let's just go right into it. So, I guess my first question is, you're being a dual athlete, like you did 2 sports. So, we mentioned all the accomplishments. He was in the NFL, played for the San Francisco for 9 years, and then he also had a track and field career, but all that was pretty much college, because once you signed with the NFL, you didn't go back to track and field.
Correct.
Because you couldn't. Why couldn't you go back to track and field?
Well, at that time, when track and field was considered amateur sport, and then once we signed an NFL contract or any other contract, then you're considered as a professional. So once you're a professional, you're banned from competing in track and field or amateur athletics.
Okay. So out of the 2 sports, because you're kind of forced out of one, which sport do you love the most?
Well, growing up in Texas, let me add something else to that. I was born in South Dallas, raised in Oak Cliff, and been all around the world.
Okay. Excuse me. Excuse me. My bad.
Well, growing up here in Texas, where football is king, and we have football 13 months out of the year. Okay, you didn't catch that. So I grew up playing football, and then I just fell in love with the shot put in the 7th grade. And being able to play both sports, I fell in love with both of them, but I think my real heart was found in that 7-foot circle called the shot put. And once I got a hold of that ball and everything was on me as far as trying to become a better thrower, and I really did the research and sought out people who knew something about the throws, and I put the work in, and and things fell in place for me. So out of the two sports, I think throwing the shot is my heart. But I love football, though. Don't get that wrong. But if I had a choice to do it all over again, I think I still do the same thing, because football is great, and especially when they paying now. Oh yeah, I'll definitely be playing football. And but I love the shot. I know all the shot putters, by name. I follow them.
Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, listen, I can attest. I already knew the answer to that question because my daddy watched more film about shot put than anybody I know. I don't even watch film like that, but he gonna watch. I can't even tell y'all how many times he watched the Olympics that I won in. He watched the indoor championship, like any major moment or any competition that I've had. My daddy probably watched all of them 100 times.
Yeah, that's true.
And if he happens to randomly just see some stuff on there, he's gonna check it out because he actually really loves throwing like that. Like he likes it. He's gonna watch it. So I already knew the answer to that question, but I wanted to hear you say it.
Okay.
So now that we know which sport that you love the most, we're gonna go back to the other sport that paid the bills. What is your favorite football memory? Like when you think about your whole career in the NFL, what is that one moment that sticks out that you just be like, you know what, like that was what that was?
I was fortunate enough to be on an outstanding, great team amongst a lot of great athletes and teammates, Hall of Famers and All-Pro. Coming in to San Francisco just to fall into a Super Bowl the very first year. Mm-hmm. And I sit there and just watch some amazing things, Jerry Rice catching the ball, Ronnie Lott making the big hits, Joe Montana throwing touchdown left and right, and on the defense we had some great All-Pros. But I played against some of the best running backs that ever played the game. Mm-hmm. Walter Payton, Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, and Earl Camp, just go on and on and on. I was reflecting on that. I'm like, I played against I actually hit some of the best running backs in the history of the NFL.
Yeah. And
so, but when you boil it all down, I think my favorite memory is going to be the 61-yard touchdown. I caught the ball, Charles Haley hit. We were playing the Washington Redskins. Charles Haley went in. Well, actually, I was through playing basically because the game was over, and I was on the sideline with, I guess, seconds or a couple of minutes left in the game. For the nose tackle, my work was done.
Yeah.
I'm basically a run stopper, and so some of the guys got tired on the pass rush, so they called my name. I had to go out, and I'm like, dog, I still have to play. And went in, and Charles came in and hit the quarterback. I saw the ball go up in there. I just ran under it and just took off running. Yeah. And all I saw was I looked toward the end zone, and all I saw was the 5-yard line was coming slower and slower. I'm like, Lord, will I make it? Because I was already tired. But when I crossed the goal line, I got a touchdown.
Yeah.
And so I was happy. That was the best moment. Everyone teased me about it, saying that they needed an hourglass, and sundial, and everything, giving me oxygen. None of that happened. I made it, and until I saw the other day that. Last night or the night before, there was a guy, a defensive lineman or defensive player, got the ball and ran it back for 99 yards. Oh. So I'm like, dang.
He got you. He got you. Me. So it's funny because that's one of my memories as well, because was that a playoff game?
Yes.
And that was probably your last year playing with San Fran, or the year before last?
I believe the year before, 91.
So year 8. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were at home in our house here in Texas. And we were all in the den, and Mikey was little, of course. Mikey was still like a baby. Me and Dee Dee were in there. Mama was watching the game. And then next thing you know, we saw you catch the ball, and Mama was up and screaming and hollering. She had Mikey in her hand, and she was just jumping, talking about, run, Michael, run! Run, Michael, run! And Mikey was scared because he didn't know what was going on. And I just remember cheering and watching you run and making that touchdown. So that's one of the memories that I also remember as well while you were playing. And then there's another memory I want to talk about real quick that I remember while you were playing is that charity football game.
Oh, okay.
where he wasn't actually playing football. He was a cheerleader. And the wives were playing. So my mom was like playing. They weren't really playing, but they was like playing. And then the men were on the sideline, the cheerleaders. And there's this one picture where my daddy has the pom-poms and he jumped like way up in the air. He got both feet up like this, you know. And I remember going to that game and watching it and then going back and seeing the pictures and stuff. So I was like, those are like two things that I remember.
Yeah, that was the San Francisco 49er wives versus the Oakland A's wives. It was a charity football game, or flag football game.
Yeah.
And myself, I remember I have a picture of myself, Jerry Rice, and Roger Craig.
Yeah.
So we had the pom-pom. We were supposed to be cheerleading. We were dressed up in our 49 shorts and
you know,
t-shirts.
they had, talking about some real hoochie daddy shorts. They were wearing the real hoochie daddy shorts back in the day.
We had tights underneath.
Not all the time.
So yeah, but that was a good one. You know, it was for charity. It was fun and had a great time.
Yeah. That's cool. So we're going to pivot from football real quick. And so you have coached me for 25 years in track and field. But that's not the only thing you coached me. You had coached me in basketball prior to that. So really, my dad, you have been my coach for like 30 years, like pretty much.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, did you ever feel that you like had an obligation to coach me, or something you wanted to do, or something you just like, okay, maybe I'll do it for a little bit and see what happens? Like, how did that come about?
Well, basically, it basically fell into my lap. You know, because we put you in the soccer. She was the goalie, and she got kicked in the face with the ball one time. So that was it. She was done with that, and so she was in the basketball season, and I believe it was at our church league. It was a YMCA league, and everyone picked all the guys, and all the guys had their coaches. So I looked around, my daughters, Michelle and Dee Dee, and a handful of other girls was just sitting there. No one wanted to coach them. They didn't have a coach. I'm like, man, I didn't know anything about basketball because I didn't play basketball growing up because I couldn't dribble with my left hand. I couldn't do any of that. All I did was shoot from half court and do a sky hook from the half court shot and make them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't want you to quit. So I'm like, okay, let's get together. I'll be your coach. So get your girls that's here and get a couple of other ones, and I went and got a book. I got on the internet and I started how to do defenses and offenses, how to set things up, and that's how we got started. And no one wanted to coach him, and I became the coach. Myself and Pastor Martin Hawkins came along, and we went into the YMCA league. You remember?
Yeah.
And we went undefeated.
We did.
And teams that were winning every year, they were so mad at us.
Yup.
And normally when you win the semifinals, you have a break before the finals or the championship game. They put us back to back where we had no break, but the team we were playing had at least 3 hours off. And so
yeah, they tried us.
They tried, but so what I did, I had Michelle and Deandra and a couple of other girls. But we had 2 girls that can shoot threes like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And so when I said every time we get the ball, we're going to come down the court, we're going to shoot, we're going to get 3 or 2. And then if we miss it, girls down below, you get the rebound, put it back up. And that's how we did it. And we pressured them coming down the court, and we won the championship, went undefeated that year.
Yeah.
And then of course when you went back into junior high and track, they didn't have a throwers coach.
Yeah.
So I didn't want you to be out there just playing around doing nothing. If you're going to do something, my philosophy is if you're going to do something, do it the very best that you can. Give it 110%.
Yeah.
Because who has time to be playing around, doing it halfway? You can find something else to do. Go get a job at the local fast food place or something.
Yeah.
But I asked the athletic director over at the school, can I come and coach Michelle, and which was fine with me. I kind of chuckled with it, of his answer. He said, "Sure, Mr. Carter, that's your daughter, but kind of stay away from the rest of them." I said, "Okay, no problem." So we took off from there, and she won. No one knew who she was. All of a sudden, she was throwing the shot and the discus like nobody's business. Got into high school, freshman year, won state, shot in discus. And
Yeah.
you won shot in discus all 4 years
All
in high
4
school.
years of high school. They did try to backtrack, but my dad was like, no thank you. We good. So yeah, so it's, no, that's, I mean, I remember those basketball games at the YMCA. It's funny because I can still smell what that YMCA smelled like today. Like just those fun memories of just having you there and coaching me pretty much my whole athletic career. The only thing you didn't coach me in was soccer.
Yeah.
we wasn't there too long. But now, so let's go and talk about the 1984 Olympic Games. And so 84, not only were you training for the you did the Olympics that year, you got married in April, you graduated from college in May, and then you tried out for the Olympic Games, you made the Olympic team, and then the Olympics is in LA, which I'm so jealous that I'm not able to hold on until LA 2028. But you're like at home, this is like on home soil competing at the Olympic Games. Can you tell us kind of like your experience and how that experience having the Olympics at home happened and in the actual competition?
Okay, 84 was a whirlwind for me. We had the NFL, well, back up, we had the USFL draft, the NFL draft, then we had the NCAAs and all that to go along with it. Got married in April, graduated in May, NCAAs was in June.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I forgot, back in March we had the...
indoor.
No, yeah, the indoor, but I also had the NFL Combine I had to go to. And that's a story within itself. And so I looked at my schedule. I told my wife, I said, like, I'm looking at my schedule. The only time I'm going to have time to marry you is April 14th. So if you want to marry me before all this, because this is the only spot I had open.
Yeah.
Because it was busy. Once I made the Olympic team, we was in Los Angeles. We were at USC, and anything that was based outside of that campus, you had to walk.
Yeah.
No trams and nothing else. So I was walking back and forth to my car to go to the hotel, go to my cousin's house. My family was coming in, so they were flying in. I had to go pick them up. I had to meet with my agent because the USFL was talking to me, the NFL was talking to me. We had to make a decision right after the shot put. I would go over to UCLA to visit some of my school teammates from the school.
From other countries.
And so I just wish I had someone that I could have leaned on and got some advice. I had wore myself out. That's why I don't talk about the 84 Olympics.
Yeah.
I wore myself out. The day of competition for the men's shot, I had blisters on both feet. I was in pain. And I ended up second place with a 69-foot throw. And it just threw what I threw at the NCAAs, or I should have won the gold medal. And that's why it irks me so bad, because I didn't have anybody at that time to lean on and say, look, it would have told me, hey, Mike, go in there and sit your behind down, But, you're trying to, please everyone and do all the things that you thought you were supposed to do. The family, my mom, my wife, my mother-in-law, everybody was coming into town. And that's why I was so, I was hurt. But it all worked out for the good, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny, because my dad's thing is, when you get there, you better sit your behind down. Don't you go nowhere unless you have to. Don't walk, don't do this, don't do that. Because from his experience, he did a lot of running around. And imagine like just walking around with blisters on your feet and then having to compete on top of that, and then you still get silver.
Yeah.
Like that's still crazy. I mean, that's still amazing in itself, but I just think, like, thinking about what happens once you make the Olympic team, the attention that you get and all the things that go into that, and then add on you going into the NFL draft. And, that's a lot. So, like, the older I get and the more that I realize of what it takes to be at the top and to be your very best, to deal with all that and still get silver, most people would crumble. Like, they wouldn't be able to handle all of that pressure. So, like, blisters and all, you know, as a silver medalist, you made a gold medalist, so we'll take it. Your mistake to get silver helped me get gold.
Yeah.
So it worked out. It worked out.
We learned.
Yes. And so I also want to go back just a little bit and talk about in 1979, your national high school record. Because one of the points that we talk about, in which we kind of just talked about, but I didn't say it, is the mindset that you have to have. Like, the mindset that you had to have to go pretty much professionally into two sports in the same year, happening at the same time, to still go and be tired, to go and win silver still, and then to still, you know, and go off and win the, be on the team and win the Super Bowl. You have to have this mindset even back in high school, because you always been a two-sport athlete, like pretty much from jump.
Right.
And so the national high school record was something you had your eye on while you was in high school.
Correct.
And originally you had one goal, but then something happened that made you change your mind and push your goal a little further. So can we talk about that?
If I got you right, I believe you're talking about that phone call?
Yeah.
Okay. Going into my senior year, what I did, I got the schedule, and I wanted to break the national record on my very first meet in my senior year. And so what I did, I got the schedule, and I just wrote, the record was 72-3 by Sammy Walker, also from Dallas. And I wrote 72-4. That was my goal on the very first meet. Yeah. And what I did, I added 6 inches to that distance on each track meet after that.
Yeah.
And that was my goal. I wanted to break the record every time I stepped out there. So the very first time, it was cold and wet and rainy, and I ended up like 69. But the following week, I broke the record. And then I started breaking the record. I think I broke it like 5 times. So I get to the Golden West in Sacramento, California.
Your last high school meet.
Right, and before that, to that point, I believe in Abilene, I broke the national record at 77 feet. And so I get to Sacramento, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go out here and this is my very last high school meet. I got to break the record.
Yeah.
77 feet even, that was the record. 77-1, that's good.
Yeah.
So the night I called my girlfriend Sandra, her mom, I said, okay, right before I got off the phone, she said, throw 80 feet for me. I'm like, 80 feet? Oh my goodness. She just, you know, you were a little love-struck puppy dog, and then someone said, throw 80 feet for me, and then all of a sudden you're like, all of your plans and all your goals just changed.
Yeah. I'm
going out to say, okay, I'm hit 77 feet to beat that. Now I got to throw 80?
Yeah.
That's 3 feet. And I said, okay, like a dummy. And I said, okay. so I went to bed, I laid there, I'm like, 80 feet? How can I throw 80 feet? I got to come across, I got to stay low and get across fast as I can and explode through the shot. So if anybody who watched the series of that meet, I went sub 77 until the last. I was close on at least 3 or 4 throws. It was hitting right 76 feet. And on it, I'm down to my last throw. I'm like, oh my goodness, this is it. This is my last throw of my high school career. And I came across and I hit the position and I exploded. It felt great. I didn't know where it was going to go.
Yeah.
So if you look at the film, I turned around very quickly just to see where it's going to land. And all I did was look out where the American flag was sitting, and I saw the shot go way beyond it. So it was over 4 feet beyond that.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe I did it. And I was like, everyone else was jumping up and down and screaming and hollering. I was like, I don't show a lot of emotion.
Yeah.
So my high school coach, he was there with me. He said, pick up the flag, wave it. I grabbed the flag. I'm like okay. Let's get this over with. Then I called her afterwards. I said, I did this. She said, you did what? I said, I threw 81 feet. She said, you lying? I said, yeah, I did. You told me to. Oh, so that's the funny thing that we laugh about at home.
It was like she was just saying, just throw far for me. And he was like, oh no, I gotta throw 80 feet because she said she want 80 feet.
That's
and you
right.
go out there and throw 81 feet 3 inches. That record still stands today. Correct. It's not only the national high school record, but it's the world 18 and under record. Mm-hmm. And I think nobody's come within 6 to 7 feet of that record.
No, 77. I believe it was Krauser did it indoors.
In high school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, then there you go. And he's an Olympic gold medalist and a world record holder. So, but just to think about like all that, like that's crazy. So like having the mindset to actually believe that you can do something and push yourself past what you thought you can do. But what's also important is having the relationships, because that's another point we talk about on the Podium Life podcast, is having certain relationships. And because the relationship my dad and my mom had, my mom wanted what was best for my dad, because it could have been a totally different phone call. She could be like, why are you at this last track meet? You should be home with me. But then she was like, go do what you do. Matter of fact, go throw far, boo. You got this. And then it pushed him past what he thought. So having these relationships are important. And I do believe that because like even having you as my dad growing up, there were moments where I had to lean in on your belief of what I could do when I couldn't see what I can do. Mm-hmm. So it's always important to have people around you that will push you to be your very best. So we're going to pause right here real quick, and we're going to go for my fun fact of the day. So my fun fact is actually about you. Oh, and so my fun fact of the day is that Michael Carter is the first and only athlete to have won an Olympic medal and a Super Bowl ring within the same year. So being a two-sport athlete and making it to the top in both sports in the same year is unheard of. Like, what were the key things like for your mindset and for your work ethic that you had to develop or had developed or worked on to even accomplish that?
Well, it came with a lot of trials and error, because of the mistakes that you made. Because when you're trying to accomplish something and you're working hard to do it, there's going to always be external people, things from the outside that comes in and trying to want a piece of you, mess up your concentration, want just talking, even just talking while you're trying to train. That irks me. that irks me. And that's the great thing about your mom. When we were in high school, she wasn't allowed to come to my practice. Yeah. Because I was there to focus. I needed to focus. So the biggest thing is you have to be able to focus and have that mindset of, here's my goal, I laid it out, I wrote it down, and now I have to work hard to achieve it. Mm-hmm. I can't achieve it if I got all the yes men and all the people who want just there to distract you. Mm-hmm. And it's just like during the recruiting season, that was wild. Yeah. I had a coach or a recruiter, but he was a coach, stood out in the middle of the sector when I'm trying to throw, because he wanted me to stop my throwing to talk to him because he can tell me about his school. I threw the shot put over his head. So I didn't stop. Yeah. And you just have to be focused and have tunnel vision and work hard to achieve your goal. So I'm not out there just to play around. I'm not out there just to feel the sun or to look good in the ring. I worked hard so I can achieve something. I didn't say I wanted to be the best. I said I wanted to be the best that I could be. Whatever that is, that's what it is. Yeah. So you just had to be focused and didn't allow other people to distract you. Mm-hmm.
So do you think like just looking at back how like, the athletes were back in your day versus how athletes are today, do you think there's anybody, or you think that someone possibly could do what you did again?
It's going to come around. It's going to take a very special person, a very special, determined person who realizes this is what I want and I'm going to work hard to get it. And what I see with a lot of athletes today, they don't think outside the box. You hear me say it all the time. Yeah. They say, what does that mean? I say, here's the information on how to throw the shot.
Yeah.
The rotational, the glide, or discus, or whatever it is. Here it is. You can follow that. That's only going to get you so far.
Yeah.
Now, what are you going to do from that after that? Now you learn how to throw. Your technique is good. Now the other internal stuff come into play.
Yeah.
Your mindset. I need to get there, and I want to get stronger. I want to get quicker. I want to be precise. I need to get to a certain level, but you can't get to a certain level if you go to like what I tell kids. I look at them. I had this throw the other day. I said, do you lift weights? I said, yes. I said, so what do you do in the weight room other than listen to music? Then she said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'm looking at your legs and your arms. Don't look like you've been lifting. And she said, I lift. I said, what do you do? And then she looked and she said, 3 sets of 10. I said, that's it? I said, you don't change throughout the year. They do 3 sets of 10 all year long.
Yeah.
So when you say think outside the box, what I did in my senior year, I looked at my technique. Because I wanted to break the national record my junior year. Mm-hmm. And I threw 73 feet, but just outside the sector, about 3 inches.
Yeah. And
I was so determined, I said I'm going to do it my senior year. So I looked at my technique, I'm like, now, what if, this is thinking outside the box, what if I come across lower? That means I can drive up more because I'm way at the lower position. Mm-hmm. I can get more of my legs into the throw. What if I hit the center quick and explosive? What if? They say, you're supposed to hit the center, you turn your foot. What if I land and my foot and hip is already turned?
Yeah.
That's eliminating the movement.
Yeah.
So it makes me quicker and faster and explosive. So
yeah.
That's what I worked it from that point on. Well, also what I did, starting out, the ring is 7 feet basically. Mm-hmm. I drew a 6-foot circle. Because where I practiced away from the school, there was no shot put ring. So I drew a 6-foot circle. So if I learned to throw the shot out of a 6-foot circle, well, I have an extra foot to work with. So I didn't have issues of fouling.
Yeah.
And that's my biggest pet peeve. People that practice
just fouling
come
for no
over
reason.
that toe board, and I tell you come over that toe board, 10 push-ups. Michelle knows.
Listen, I did the least amount of push-ups out of everybody because who don't like push-ups is me.
Okay. But what it is, you just have to think outside the box, know what you have to do to achieve it, and work hard. People today are afraid to work hard.
Yeah. No, that's true. So now we're gonna fast forward. If you being a coach, it's 2016. And we are getting ready for possibly the biggest moment of my career. Because things are looking good. Like, we're looking good. And we get to indoor nationals, and I compete, and I make the world indoor team. And then we get to world indoor. And it was the first time we had indoor world championships on U.S. soil. And so it was actually a really fun time because I didn't have to go back home to Texas. We just stayed in Portland. No, it was in Portland, Oregon. We stayed in Portland, Oregon for the World Championships. And so Daddy flew back out. Or did you stay the whole time too, or did you go home and come back?
I went home and came back.
Okay, he came back. And so here we are at Indoor World Championships. Like, what do you remember from that competition?
I mean, that was a great indoor. That was a great competition for you.
Yeah.
And we were trying to get you ready for the outdoor season, and things was looking good. I'm like, okay, let me.
It was looking a little too good.
Yeah, I said, let me slow her down. I slapped that 10-pound back on you. I'm like, you can work with this a little longer.
Yeah.
So, in practice, we always talk about situational throws. All right, Michelle, you're in 4th place. Blah blah blah. Here it is, the 5th throw. And then we say, okay, cart her up. She has to get in the ring, and you have to perform.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see you muscling it. I'm looking strictly technique. If the technique is sloppy, or I see you trying to arm it, or you lunging forward, I say foul. All right, then we down to the 6th throw. here's the situation again. Didn't do it. And I like the one before. Once I did it to you, so you can just see what happened. She worked hard in practice. You worked hard in practice. We got down to it. I said, all right, Michelle, third round, no mark.
Yeah.
You have to get a decent mark in the top 8 or 12 to make it. She came across the ring. She thought she was going to lunge or whatever she was going to do. She hit, then she stepped over the toe board. And foul. The meet is over.
Yeah.
Because you didn't make it to the final. So you have to play that over, in time, so you can get a feel for what's to come.
Like competing under pressure.
Exactly, and that's so when we used to do this all the time. So we get to the indoor meet in Portland, Oregon, and we did that scenario where you were going back and forth with Anita Martin, then Valerie first, then Anita.
Yeah.
Y'all were going back and forth. They would take the lead, you come back. They take the lead, you come back.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I seen you really kind of do what I told you to do. And that was wonderful. Even to this day, I look at that film and I watch it with a big smile.
Yeah.
Because then on your last throw, you came across, because Anita was leading.
She was.
And she came across, and you had that big throw, and you went over 20 meters.
Y'all, I surprised myself. Because, like, indoor, we never really just practiced and really tried to be super sharp for indoor. We just used it, like, during the break time just to kind of work, recovery time, go do indoor, and then we're going to go back to work when you get back.
Right.
So whatever happens in indoor is what happened. And so we took the same approach as we always did, because the prize is the Olympic. That's what we really are in. We're not worrying about indoor world, but of course I'm going to do my best, but I'm not trying to be my sharpest. So when I threw it indoor nationals, I was like, wait a minute. Okay, like, we'll take that. Let's get ready for this World Championships. So when we go back into that competition, they had changed the setup and the lineup. Like, right before our last throw, they want to put on the dramatics. They had us go out and call us back out and cheering and dim the lights for your throw. I was like, who does this? Like, I'm here to compete. And but I kept thinking, like, we practice it to stay focused. Focus on what you got to do. Focus on what you got to do. So we're going back and forth, and we do it. And then we get down to that last throw, and I throw. And I just remember when I threw, everybody was like, oh! I was like, oh, what happened? Like, in my head, like, what happened? Like, it must have been real far. Because, sometimes we can't really tell how far a throw is from where we're throwing at in the ring. Now, keep in mind, the indoor sector for shot put is narrower, because you got to protect everybody else. So I've had some fouls into the net, so my shot was going all over the place. But on that last throw, when I heard the crowd and I saw the mark, and it was a new indoor American record, it was a new personal record, it was like 3 feet further than what I originally planned to throw it indoor. Right. I'm thinking to myself, like, girl, this about to be your year. Like, this is it. That's what we've been waiting for. And then what happens 3 weeks later?
That's when you injured your shoulder? Or your back?
It was my back. I wake up, go to the doctor, and ended up finding out that I had a herniated disc in my back. And so, how did that feel for you as a coach and as a father, like, watching me have this type of success and everything is looking good? We're finally seeing what we've been working for all these years, and then all of a sudden it pretty much comes to a complete stop, because my back was pretty bad, and I had to take some time off and really work my way back up. Like, how did that feel to watch me go through that in that time?
Well, as a coach, of course, you're disappointed, because I'm like, oh my gosh, we did all this work and we built it up. Everything was looking great, and all of a sudden we were hit with this. And as for your coach, I'm responsible for helping you and guide you to your ultimate goal, whatever that is, which was for us, it was the Olympics, the gold medal. But as your father, I was like, oh my goodness. I mean, I was caring for you. I was like, did I fail you? What did I do? Did I do anything wrong? And that's what you had to keep questioning yourself, because when you're in both those roles, I mean, it weighs on you heavily, twice as much.
Yeah.
Not just as your coach, but as your father. I'm like, did I let her down? I mean, what did I do? But it was nothing I did. It was just you being
the cards I was drawing.
One thing you guys got to understand, y'all know her as Michelle Carter, the shot diva, but we know about the third one, and that's the one that we all have to shake our heads at. In our family, in our circle, this is Binky. Binky is a mess. Okay, I'm letting y'all know that now. You can talk to her later about it, but she's the one that goes down to the kitchen, takes all the pots and pans out, open the dishwasher, stands on it, get up on the cabinet, go into the icebox, do all the stuff that you don't want your kids to do. This is the one.
I was doing it.
So the thing about it is, we got to the point where she was injured, and we knew we had to take our time and get you healthy, then see whatever happens after that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it was crazy because it was one moment I could only practice for like 10 minutes. Then we had to take time off, and I was going to rehab. I was doing all these things, and we just slowly picked away at it, just slowly chipped away at it. And then we get down to the Olympic trials. Olympic trials, because we had to shut down the whole competition. There was nothing, I can do until we felt like I was ready enough, strong enough, my back can handle it. And so we shut down every competition until the Olympic trials. And then we get to the Olympic trials, I'm nervous. Because, as an athlete, like, we have control of our bodies. It's mind over matter. You make your body, you go out there and you do. And the one thing that I felt like I've always had control of, I no longer had control of.
Correct.
And so now I'm coming in at a deficit because I didn't get all the competitions. I haven't competed since indoor. So that means all my summer outdoor meets, trying to get timing together was out the window, and I had to go ahead and perform and make the team. And originally my goal was, if I just have to make the team. Normally I would want to win Olympic trials, but at this point I'm like, listen, I'll just take top 3. I just got to make the team. Mm-hmm. And then I remember going there, and I was originally in 3rd place, and I moved up to 2nd place. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, girl, we on the team. But then something hit me, and I'm like, you don't want 2nd place. And so I remember my dad looked at me like, okay, like, come on, like, if you want to, go get it. And so I competed, and I ended up winning indoor on my last throw Olympic trial. Like, 2016 was the year of the last throw. I won indoors on my last throw. I won Olympic trials on my last throw. Then I won the Olympics on my last throw. Mm-hmm. And so we make the team. We get ready to go to Rio. And we get to Rio, and we're here at training camp and everything. So when you get to Rio, what happened?
Oh. I get to Rio, I'm all excited and nervous at the same time. I'm looking for my bag. They lost my bag. So I spent at least 10 days, 8 to 10 days, I believe. I think it was 8 days without my suitcase. I had to wash my clothes by hand every night. So, and I was so upset. And then the day of competition, after qualifying, got back to the hotel room. He said, "Mr. Carter, we got your luggage." Oh, I ran upstairs.
Look, my dad learned a hard lesson. He didn't pack any extra clothes in his carry-on.
No,
I bet he won't do that again. But so now we're at the competition in Rio, and we made the qualifying. I go back to the village. You go back to your hotel. Then later on that night, we come back for the finals. Mm-hmm. Throw number 1, I'm in 2nd place. Throw number 2, I'm in 2nd place. Throw number 3, I'm in 2nd place. So we reorder. Throw number 4, still in 2nd place. Throw number 5, in 2nd place. So from your perspective, what did you see that changed between throw number 5 and throw number 6?
Well, let's go back to throw number 1.
Okay.
The whole time I'm telling you to drive up and stay up all the way through the shot. Keep pushing on the shot. And it would have went I mean, it would have gone because you were ready to throw a big one.
Yeah.
And what you did, you wanted to reverse so quick, and you fall down. You didn't continue to push, and throw 1, throw 2, all the way to throw 5. I kept saying the same thing. I was getting frustrated, and I'm like, come on. And then she did it just a little bit on her 6th throw, and that's the one that went 67-8, and she won the gold medal. And then if you look at the video, when the camera panned to me, and I'm like, this she don't listen. Binky did not listen.
I was listening.
She did not listen.
I was listening.
No, you didn't.
See, that's from his perspective. But go ahead, finish your story so I can tell mine.
Okay, she did not listen. If she had stayed up and continued to push on the shot, she was ready for a 70-footer. That's why when you saw me and I wasn't jumping up and down, I was like, I'm happy for her that she wanted to go, but ooh, she trying me, Jay. This girl, that Binky is hard-headed, and that's what we always say about her. She was ready for a big one, and all she had to do was that one thing, and on all those throws, that's all I kept telling her. Everything else was fine. I said, stay up, continue to drive and push on the shot. And she'd look up there, and I say, stay up and drive up. You know, we have our hand signs. And she'll nod her head and do the same thing over. I'm like, oh.
He over here acting like I was trying to do that on purpose, like I wasn't trying to stay up.
Listen to your coach.
I am listening
to my coach. If you don't want to listen to your coach, listen to your daddy.
I was listening. And sometimes, like, in those moments, it's not always as easy, I feel. Like, you may try to do something, and your body just like, and it gives out a little bit too soon. But I remember between the 5th and 6th throw, I know he was like, come on. And I'm looking at him like, listen, I ain't got time to even look at you right now, because I already know what I got to do. Just let me get it together. And so when I felt what I had been working on, I ain't even going to say this whole year. I'm going to say my whole career, to halfway happen and to see what the result was, it was like, okay, like, dang, like, finally, because you work on something for so long and you don't know exactly when it's going to show up for you.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things my daddy always says, he says, how many times does it take to get something right?
As long as it takes.
As long as it takes to get it right. So there's no magic number. You don't know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, or all. You just have to put in the work, knowing that one day it's going to pop up and you're going to hit that number and it's going to be right there.
Mm-hmm.
So we finished that night, the competition. We have the medal ceremony that day. And then my daddy gets on the plane and goes home. I'm staying there because my plan was, first I had like a ton load of media to do. And then I'm calling, checking in on my parents, and ain't nobody answering the phone. I'm like, hey, maybe they busy. Maybe I got the time schedule out. Like, somebody gonna call me back. I wake up the next day. Why y'all ain't answering the phone? I call my sister. I call my brother. Ain't nobody answering the phone. So then my agent calls me. She said, hey, I'm going to go ahead and send you home earlier so you can go home, drop your bags off, and get ready to go to Europe to finish your season. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dang, I really wanted to go to closing ceremonies because I didn't get to do opening ceremonies, but I have all this media stuff. She was like, go home. I'm like, cool. So I'm calling my mom and my dad like, hey, I need somebody to come pick me up. I'm coming home for 3 days. And then finally my mama answered the phone. She go, hey, Binky. I said, what's wrong? What happened? I said, no. I said, I've been calling y'all for days. Ain't nobody answering the phone. I'm coming home tomorrow. I need somebody to come there to pick me up, but what happened? Then she said, well, your daddy had an accident. I said, what kind of accident? So, yeah, he ain't never really told this story, but he gonna tell us today. So, Daddy, what happened when you got home from Rio?
I can laugh about it now, but of course, watching you get the gold medal and all that great stuff, I was ready to come home. I wanted to share my story with everybody back home. And so my wife and my son picked me up at the airport, and we went to my favorite Mexican restaurant, Herrera's.
Yeah, we've been going to Herrera's for like 30 years.
Yeah. So, and then afterwards, went by Brahms, got the banana split.
Mm-hmm.
So I came home, so I'm in the car, I'm looking around, I'm like, dang. You know, I had my gun, I had a little Derringer in the car. And I'm like, let me take this out of here, because, you know, it was in the summer, it was hot, and it's been in the car ever since I was at the Olympics. So I took it out, so I had my leftover food, I had my ice cream on top, and something else, I think mail. And so we walk into the office, my wife went in first, I went second, then Mikey was behind me. And so I turned around, he had said something, I turned around, and the ice cream starts sliding out the bag. And I'm like, oh, I reached for it, and I forgot I had the Derringer in my hand. Mm-hmm. It fell, and I dropped it, and it fell and hit the floor, and then it went off. And it hit me right above my knee replacement, and it shattered my femur. And all I knew was I just turned slowly down to the ground and holding it, and all I, you know, and I told him dial 911, dial 911. And this is, I mean, I hadn't been home 10 seconds. So they came in and took me to the hospital, and I was put under another name because the lady said, I just saw you on TV, you know. So we went in the hospital. I didn't tell anybody. I mean, the amount of people that we told was like maybe on 2 hands, 10 people. Yeah. So, and we just kept it quiet, and I went through all that, and so I ended up with a plate and 18 screws in my right leg, and when we talk about being an android, I have metal from my foot to my knee to my hip, all the way up. So that was the thing that we did about the injury. Yeah, I got, like my son said, "No, Daddy, you shot yourself." Because I always say that I had an accident. He said, "No, Daddy, you shot yourself." So that's what we had to go through, and then we went for the award for your Jackie Joyner Kersey Award. Oh yeah, yeah. All of a sudden, that was the first time people in track and field saw me since the Olympics, and I was on crutches. Yeah, but then nobody know why, but they assumed it was a football injury. They said, "What happened?" I said, "Oh, I fractured my femur." Well, that's all I said. That's it. So, but yeah, like, imagine me sitting over there in Rio, and I'm calling them, and they told me that. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, I'll be there tomorrow. And so when we got there, they had took me straight to the hospital. But I knew he was okay because I talked to him. But, you know, like, if you know us, like, we joke. So as soon as I seen him, I was like, you gonna shoot yourself? I want some ice cream? Like, like, Mama, you should have let the ice cream go. You could have been back and got another one. But, you know, it was just crazy for that to happen. And so, like, y'all, we're going to go ahead and just wrap up because I could talk to my daddy all day. So, y'all know that he's going to be a recurring guest, and we're going to see him more than once. But I want to stop. I want to go ahead and go to the quote of the day because it's something that you have told me pretty much my whole life. He says, "Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard." And then I added a little bit to it and says, "What happens when talent works hard? The unthinkable." And I think that what my dad has been able to accomplish in his career was the unthinkable because people didn't think it was possible to throw 80 feet. And I would even say for myself, when he gave me his knowledge and I've done what I've done, people in the U.S. didn't see an American woman winning the Olympics anytime soon because we were so far off the mark that they didn't even think it would happen. People told me that wouldn't happen in our lifetime, but it did. So when you actually are talented at something and you put the hard work into it, like you can do things that people will only dream about or can't even dream about because it seems so far away. And so with that, Daddy, I'm going to end right there, and I thank you for coming. Thank you for having me. Being my very first guest on the show. So, y'all, in conclusion, you know, I truly believe this, that, you know, your parents are perfect, but I do believe that God picks who your parents are supposed to be because he feels that they're going to be the people who are going to give you what you need to be your very best of what God created you to be. So God picked him.
this android over here to be my dad. And so y'all, if y'all have any questions or comments, please email me at IamMichelleCarter@gmail.com. And also y'all, we are living this Podium life journey together so that we can live the Podium life, living one step above the rest, being the best we can being the best we can be to reach our full potential. And I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for listening to the Podium Life Podcast. I hope this episode adds value to your journey of building your Podium life. Make sure you subscribe to not miss a single episode and leave us a review. Make sure to go to thepodiumlifepodcast.com to keep the conversation going. Until next time.